Good afternoon, everyone. At this juncture, we will now discuss the lesson about teaching practical English communication skills. To begin with, let us first read the overview of the lesson. In implementing remedial instruction, teachers first assess the students' abilities and looks at the possible reason behind their poor academic results. In line with this, teaching practical communication in English is a good way to practice and develop their skills and abilities. Indeed, teaching practical communication in English is important as it can aid us to meet today's communication demands, regardless of whether we started learning English communication in early stages or much later. Being able to use English language skills effectively is a big advantage, especially in dealing with our day-to-day living. The more well-rounded we are in English communication, the better equipped we are to thrive personally, social, and professionally. Thus, whatever level of English communication we want to pursue, making a strong personal commitment to practice and study will be helpful. The advantages obtained through communication, either on personal level or in business environment, will have an extensive impact on both our career and personal life. As we all know, remedial instruction is assigned to assist students in order to achieve expected competencies in core academic skills such as literacy and numeracy. Throughout the teaching process, teachers should provide systematic training to develop pupils' generic skills, including interpersonal relationship, communication, self-management, creativity, and the use of information in education. Thus, the role of the teacher is to train pupils to establish good interpersonal relationships as to facilitate effective communication and collaboration, as well as to enhance the spirit of students. To understand the lesson, let me elaborate the words related to this topic. English communication skills discusses that English language learning will allow us to communicate effectively with people from all over the world, making traveling a lot easier and helping you to learn more about different cultures. The importance of English language can be seen in almost every aspect of our lives. This is especially true in business world, where English is the most common language used. Successful communication is far more than sharing information. It can deepen relations in personal life or professional life. Thus, developing good communication skills can help us avoid conflicts, compromise, and help in better decision making. Somehow, it is anchored in the oral interaction, which defines as an act of communication, and the foundational social skill, which includes the ability to initiate dialogue, change topics during the conversation, take turns, and know what is appropriate to say in the context, speak directly, and convey relevant information. Indeed, oral interaction skills are often neglected in classroom environments because their success depends on a large number of teaching and learning factors. When teaching language, many teachers focus mainly on verbal or communicative interaction without distinguishing related nonverbal interaction. This leads to a situation in which teachers give insufficient attention to not only students' elicited performance in early stages of the language learning process, but also to the quality of the comprehensible output which they are provided. This implies that having a solid foundation in oral language will help children become successful communicators as well as to build their confidence and overall sense of well-being. So oral interaction often includes speaking and condole or congratulate. Expressing condolence. Sometimes, you will have to sympathize with a person who has experienced pain or grief for the loss of someone dear to them. These are some of the phrases that you can use to express condolence in English. I am deeply sorry to hear about the death of your best friend. I was heartbroken by the sad news. Words cannot express the sadness I feel about her loss. Words fall short of expressing my sadness. Let me express my sorrow for the loss of your beloved uncle. Please accept our heartfelt condolences. We will always remember the memories with your aunt. Sorry, I am at loss for words to express my sadness. Through the various stages of dealing with the death of a loved one, effective communication becomes paramount. For instance, Let us first look at the hospice nurses. Most of them have mastered the art of nonverbal communication. Their eye contact, appropriate facial expressions, and handshakes, touch or hugs communicate the care, compassion, and concern that is essential to this noble profession. The funeral director is challenged by the raw emotions of their client and the family members and the need to balance compassion in the amidst of conducting business. A sincere handshake with eye contact, good listening skills, and the ability to communicate details without sounding too businesslike is critical during this time of grief. The visual, including the body language, eye contact, and posture, and vocal, which includes the tone of voice, rate of speech, need to support and soften the grim details and cost of funeral planning. The lack of eye contact that was intermittently evident detracted from the bond of trust during difficult conversations. Posture and body positioning, as well as making sure to address each of the family members, must also be taken into account. Again, eye contact, appropriate facial expression, and a warm handshake or hug are the foundations of good communication. Sometimes a simple "I'm sorry for your loss" is sufficient. If you can think of one memory to share or one comment about the individual, the conversation can flow from there. Being an active listener removes the burden of carrying on the conversation. In summary, as it is true in many different situations, a large part of communication is not just what you say, but how you say it and how your nonverbal communication supports your messages.
People usually express their feelings and emotions positively to others when they have happy occasions. However, the ways of expressing congratulation may vary because the expressive speech act congratulations is not the only way to express happiness and share others their happy news. Hence, congratulating others is one of the linchpins that characterize human social interaction and is a speech act that is realized in different forms by language users. These are some of the phrases that you can use to express congratulations in English. First, congratulations, you deserve this success. Next one, congratulations on your hard work. We can also say, my sincere, heartfelt, or warmest congratulations to you. Next is, I commend you on your accomplishments or success. Next is, well done, that's wonderful news. We could also say, you did it, I know you could. And lastly, that's awesome, congratulations on a job well done. So here are some tips on how to congratulate someone. First, bring up the accomplishment. Don't skirt around the issue when there's something to celebrate. Mention the reason that congratulations are in order right off the bat. If you want, you can tell the person how you heard the news. This will set the right tone and make it easier to say the right words and share in the person's excitement. Secondly, say congratulations with a smile. After stating the achievement, express your congratulations with a winning smile. The expression on your face is pretty important because if you say congratulations with a serious look on your face, the person will probably think you aren't actually all that happy for him or her. And lastly, mention their feelings on the subject. If it's appropriate, you can follow up the word congratulations with an expression of how you feel. For example, you could say that you've enjoyed watching the person work toward his or her goal, or simply say, I'm really happy for you. Be as expressive as you want, keeping in mind that your tone of voice will really make a difference. Describing picture in English. So this is a picture of a man. He is jumping in the air and it looks like that he is on a beach somewhere, or this picture shows a man in a pair of shorts. He is on the beach and he is jumping very high. So that is a perfect introduction to the picture. Even if we cannot see the picture, we have a clear idea of what the picture is on our mind. So how to describe a picture in English? We could be asked to talk about a picture in the English test or in any other test. It's a useful skill to have in English. It helps us to describe things you can see very clearly to others. Just give a brief introduction of what the picture is, who the person is, what they are doing, and where they are. Essentially, describing pictures is a very important activity where you will improve your speaking skills. Let us now proceed on describing picture, map, chart, and diagram. But first, let us define them one by one. So what is map? Map is a symbolic representation of selected characteristic of place, usually drawn on a flat surface. It represents information about the world in simple visual way. They teach about the world by showing sizes and shapes of countries, locations, and features and distances between places. On the other hand, chart is a graphical representation for data visualization in which data is presented by symbols such as bars in a bar chart or slices in a pie chart. It represents tabular numeric data, function, or some kind of quality structure and provides different information. Next is diagram. Diagram is a symbolic representation of information using visualization techniques. It is used to show arrangement and relations. It may be used for all aspects of human activities to explain or illustrate a topic. So, using graphs, diagrams, and chart can help us to get a clearer picture of what we are presenting. The advantage to using graphs and charts is that they can display a lot of information as an easy to understand format. For example, a line graph is a great way to show trends over a period of time. You could put numbers in a table, but a line that is consistently going up is much more accessible at a quick glance. Thus, charts and graphs help to express complex data in a simple format. They can add value to your presentations and meetings, improving the clarity and effectiveness of your message. In teaching process, maps, charts, and diagrams are especially helpful as they enable students to see ideas visually laid out in an organized way. So here are the tips when describing a picture. First, look at the picture carefully. Then, speak about what you see. After that, speak about what you imagine. Then remember that do not focus in one thing. You can also use the vague things too. And finally, do not be afraid to ask. Let us all remember that when describing the picture or photograph, the first thing you want to say is a general description of it. You do not need to go into detail immediately. Just introduce what the picture is of or who it is of and say one or two sentences about it. You don't need to think of details or make it too complex.
So what is a concept map? So a concept map is a visual organizer that can enrich students' understanding of a new concept. It engages students in answering questions such as what is it? What is it like? What are some examples? And concept maps deepen the understanding and comprehension of the students. So concept map basically is a visual tool that helps you dig into an idea in detail. So the diagram pushes you to explore subtopics, understand relationships, and organize your thoughts in a logical and systematical way. So concept maps can be used to help students understand chemistry subject matters of concepts. So they are used as a teaching method by which connections and relations, as well as hierarchy of concepts, are presented in a clear and concise way. So these are the ways of constructing concept maps. So first is model how to identify the major ideas presented in a selection of a text you read. So meaning to say, after you read the text, you will identify or describe the major ideas and topics that will be discussed in your concept map. But why? So that you can lay out the ideas and topics that you will incorporate in your map. So secondly, organize the ideas into categories. Why? This is important. It is important to organize your ideas into categories so that your topics, your subtopics, and ideas can be presented in a clear, concise, and systematical and a more constructed way. So third, use lines or arrows on the map to represent how ideas are connected to one another, a particular category, and or the main concept. So it is important to use lines such as arrows so that you can connect an idea to an idea, or an idea to a main topic, or a topic to a subtopic, and vice versa, so that it is more clear to understand the flow of the ideas. So lastly, limit the amount of information on the map to avoid frustration. So limitation of information is a must. Why? Because too much information or overload of information can lead to confusion and frustration to the readers and viewers. So as I've said before, your concept map must be concise, brief, and must be presented in a clear way so that your concept map is easier to understand with the limited information, but it has a deeper understanding to the audience. So next are describing charts and diagrams. So pie charts are designed to visualize how a whole is divided into various parts. So each segment of the pie is a particular category within the total data set. So in this way, it represents a percentage distribution. So pie charts are simple and easy to understand. So it basically represents data visually as a fractional part of a whole, which can be effective communication tool for an uninformed audience. It also enables audiences to see a data comparison at a glance to make them immediately analyze or to understand information quickly. So the need for readers to examine or measure underlying numbers themselves can be removed by using this chart. And to emphasize your points you want to make, you can manipulate the pieces of data in the pie chart. So next is bar graphs. So bar graphs transform the data into separate bars or columns. Generally, this type of visuals have categories on the x-axis, and the numbers on the y-axis. So the purpose of a bar graph is to convey relational information quickly as the bar displays the quantity for a particular category. So describing a bar graph. So you must follow the trend from left to right and describe if it does go up and down or stays the same. Describing a line graph. So we should follow its progress along the horizontal axis and describe whether it goes down or stays the same. In describing a pie chart, we must compare each slice of the chart to the others to determine what share of the total each category has. So these are the examples of charts. So the first figure is called the pie chart. The second figure is called the bar chart. The third figure is called the line chart. Lastly, describing a diagram. So in describing a diagram, there are steps that you should consider. First is read the title and image of the diagram and write about it. This will be your introduction. So in describing a diagram, you must first look at the title. So for example, in this diagram, it is about the water flow or the water cycle and its benefit to us. So the example is the water cycle and its benefit to human lives or human living. So that is the title. So from that title, you will formulate a description, a phrase, an essay that can be your introduction in describing the diagram. So secondly, describe the diagram in detail. So it is important to describe the diagram in detail so that the readers and the viewers can understand what is going on. So each figure, each line, each segment of the diagram must be included in your description. So the third is add sequencing words to your text in order to connect your descriptive sentences and make the flow better. So meaning to say, your description must be in chronological order. Why? So it's easier to understand and the readers can follow along, or the viewers can follow the diagram. So fourth, make sure to include passive form in the description to define an action that is done. So it is important to use the past tense of a verb or the past tense of the word so that the readers can identify or the viewers can identify the action that was done or the action that was finished. Fifth is include conditionals and adverb clauses to indicate possible outcomes when describing a diagram. So meaning to say, it is important to incorporate conditionals and adverb clauses so that the possible outcomes in the diagram can be followed along by the reader or the viewer. So lastly, write a clear summary of the principal idea of the diagram in one short paragraph. So meaning to say, you must summarize the entire diagram. You will conclude the main points, the important points, and the description and the happenings that should be remembered in the diagram.
Lastly, we have taking part in short contextualized dialogues. Before digging deeper into what is contextualized dialogues, let me first tell you what these two terms are all about. First, we have contextualized. So, what is really meant by this? Primarily, the term refers into thinking about something or helping others think about something in that context in which the situation occurs or exists helps explain it. Meaning to say, this has something to do with a particular situation. This has an essential role in communication, for it gives us the hint or idea of what language or words are applicable to apply in a conversation. Through contextualization, we are able to align the choice of words on an event, which makes communication even more effective. Secondly, we have dialogues. And what is meant by this? A dialogue is a conversation that takes place between two or more people. It also refers to a conversation reported in a drama or narrative. Most of us are familiar of what dialogue is. We might have done this oftentimes, especially on our school activities such as dramatization or role-playing. Mainly, dialogue is a written script which serves as a guide for us to successfully convey messages. It allows us to communicate with less error. Now, combining the two terms, we have the contextualized dialogues. Let us now discuss what is meant by this. A contextualized dialogue is the bidirectional transmission of information between two parties. Both parties recognizing the relationship, environment, and cultural context of the exchange. And that is a more formal definition, but to simplify things, it's about both parties who really understand what the conversation is. This means that contextualized dialogues is a two-way exchange of information between two parties. In this case, both parties are aware of the relationship, environment, and cultural context of the exchange. The main advantage of this is that everyone involved is aware of the nature of the conversation. Let us take a look at some examples for a contextualized dialogue. The first one is a small talk in a form of greetings in which the context revolves around their experience at school. On the second example, the dialogues takes place in a library, which means that the context of conversation should be formal or should be a more formal one compared on the first given example. The context in this example revolves around assistance. On the last example, we could observe that the dialogue takes place in a school. Just like the second example, this dialogue also requires a formal tone of language upon approaching the registrar. The context in this dialogue revolves around registration, which appears to be in a formal context. Now, the question is, thus taking part in short contextualized dialogue helps you speak better? Indeed, we can say that it is beneficial for us upon enhancing our speaking skills. Using memorized conversation will improve our speaking ability, and by remembering the dialogue of various social events, there is a starting point for starting and continuing the conversation. So instead of struggling to translate English to the foreign language we are using, we will think in the target language. Thus, Taking part in contextualized dialogues will really help learners to practice their English communication skills, which will eventually help them cope with their difficulties in understanding English language and will enable them to improve their poor academic performance. This can be simply put into practice as we deal with different people every day, considering that the choice of language is aligned within the context of communication to make it clear and effective. In general, remedial English instruction does not only focus on written outputs, but also allows students to improve their macro abilities. Speaking is a crucial macro skill to cultivate. By improving this skill, we will be able to fully develop our communication abilities, which are very important in our everyday lives. Thus, learning speaking condole or congratulate, knowing how to explain an image, map, chart, or diagram, and participating in brief contextualized conversation is beneficial in improving learners' performance. These practices will make remedial instruction more real, allowing teachers to track the development of their students. So that concludes our report. Thank you for listening.